What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another episode of Bleeding BnG. To give you a timestamp as I do for all of my episodes, today is Sunday, August the 11th, 2024, and we're coming off of a day after the Washington Commanders fell to the New York Jets, 17-20 in the first week of the preseason 2024. Now, I know this video is coming out a little late because I was out. I had some prior engagements I had to attend to, so I didn't watch the second half live. I watched the first half live, but I went back to watch the replay to give you guys, you know, what you came to Bleeding BnG for, and that's the most raw, uncut, and unfiltered analysis on your Washington Commanders, and I hope to give you that with this episode. But before we get too deep into this episode, you already know what I'm going to say. Be sure to comment, be sure to like, be sure to subscribe. On the road to 2,000 subscribers, and I can't do it without you guys. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Flood the comments. I love chopping it up with you guys. And yeah, let's get into this episode. Quick recap. Not going to keep you guys long. You know, Bleeding BnG, we're famous for our 30 to 40 minute rants and post-game recaps and things of that nature. But guess what? Everybody is in preseason form. So I'm going to give you a quick video to hopefully get you guys out your way. Some quick hitters, some things that I like, some things that were interesting, and just some keen observations that we made over here at Bleeding BnG. So we received the ball first, and Jayden Daniels went on his first, his one and only drive. And I almost had to change my underwear after that drive. Not going to lie to you. Not going to lie to you. I almost had to change my underwear after that drive. I was almost late to my prior engagements after that drive because I honestly, I haven't had this feeling since 2012, and I'm not comparing them to RG3. I'm comparing the way that I felt. I don't think that Jayden Daniels could have had a better debut. Would he could have went perfect maybe? With his passing attempts and completions, he could have went 100% completion percentage, I guess. But it was pretty much a storybook opening drive for Jayden Daniels. Yes, he opened up his drive with a missed screen pass, getting out the jitters, getting out the nerves. And if I can remember, Robert Griffin missed his opening pass on the screen pass in his preseason debut against the Buffalo Bills. The parallels are writing themselves at this point, and it's getting scary. It's getting scary. But then he opened up the playbook, and responded with a 43-yard perfect bomb. Perfect outside shoulder bomb to Dyami Brown, in which he checked to, which became all the fad and all the rave and all the talk after the game, in which he called an audible to. For my novice fans that don't know what a check is, it was a screen play initially. He didn't like the look. Check to whatever play it was, like a slot fade. You know, I told you guys before, he was the best deep ball thrower in the draft, and he proceeds to show it in his first game with a perfect bomb, something that we haven't seen in many years. I'm not even going to say since which quarterback, because I'm not even going to do that to the guy, but it was a thing of beauty. Dan Orlovsky said that it was like you couldn't make a better pass than the one that was made, because it was not like Dyami Brown created a ton of separation. It's not like he created a ton of separation, but Jayden Daniels put the ball where only he could put it. And as I mentioned, he checked to that play. So he knew what he wanted. He liked the look pre-snap, or he didn't like the look of the initial call pre-snap. He knew what call he wanted to check to based off of the coverage that the defense was giving him. And guess what? He passed the test. He aced the test. Now, after on the local broadcast, Sam Cosmi and Austin Eckler both said that Jayden Daniels checked to that play, which I love because it shows that my rookie quarterback is in the book. It shows that my rookie quarterback has the brains. It shows that my rookie quarterback has the knowledge. It shows that he has the things that keep you playing and have you have that longevity in the NFL when your athletic gifts start to despair. And he has a lot of athletic gifts. He's supremely athletic. So to show that he's showing that mental side of the game in his first career drive, I don't care if it's the preseason or not. I don't care if it's against the third stringers, the fourth stringers or not. Showing those type of intangibles is what I like to see in my quarterback. Now, what I didn't necessarily like is Dan Quinn alluded to that he didn't necessarily have permission to check to that audible, because like I said, I guess he doesn't know how this media is in DC, because some people have taken it and spun with it. And no, I'm not mad at Dan Quinn for that quote by any means, but just let Jayden rock out. Just let him take the onus of it. Let him take accountability for it, because guess what? It turned into a successful play. So we didn't need to know if he had permission to do it or not. We didn't. But that's a learning lesson for Dan. But I don't think the Jayden Daniels opening drive couldn't have gone any better. It concluded in a 2-yard rushing run off of a read option. Guys, the read option is going to kill people this year. It's going to kill defenses this year. Like I've been preaching since we drafted Jayden Daniels and since we signed Austin Eckler, I think that we're going to be a run-heavy team this year, like we were in 2012. If you go back and look at Robert Griffin 2012 stats, he didn't throw for a lot of yards. He didn't even have over 4,000 yards, but it was that dual threat ability and that dual threat that he posed that caused defenses to play 11-on-11 football that had them shitting in their pants. And the read option was a huge part of that. Do you guys realize that Alfred Morris has the single season rushing record for this great franchise that has had tremendous running backs? Clinton Portis, John Riggins, Stephen Davis. Tremendous running backs. None of them had a season like Alfred Morris did in 2012. And I'm going to tell you why. It was because of the read option. It was because of Robert Griffin and the read option. And yesterday showed you the type of threat that having such a mobile quarterback can have. That shit was wide open. Jayden Daniels was smiling going into the end zone. He was having a field day out there on them boys. And if you can look at some of this, just the few runs that Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson had, they had rushing lanes. No, they didn't convert those into huge gains, but those will come. But they had rushing lanes because the linebackers were hesitant because of the threat of Jayden Daniels. The read option is going to kill defenses again like it's 2012. I know we try and get so far removed from that RG3 era, but the parallels are there. And I hope you guys are ready. Now, getting on some other talking points outside of Jayden Daniels. In the first quarter, this is what I watched live. Some live reaction. I said, Emanuel Forbes actually played in phase of a receiver. The first pass that they targeted Emanuel Forbes with was actually a decent rep. But then he goes right back and gets cooked for a touchdown. And I tweeted this out because it's not like he had horrible coverage, but he just doesn't play with a punt. And he doesn't play with he doesn't play with any type of leverage. So a good quarterback is going to pick that out, and he's going to pick his spots. This is him after him coming off of a joint practice session where fucking Garrett Wilson ran circles around him. Garrett Wilson might as well put him on the shoulder and burped him the way he sunned him on Thursday. Then getting cooked by Garrett Wilson wasn't good enough. You had to go ahead and get baked by a fourth stringer for a touchdown. I ain't heard of Brownlee since Hard Knocks last year. I ain't heard of Jason, whatever his first name is, since Hard Knocks. Because he ain't do shit last year. And he's fourth on that depth chart. Fourth string on that depth chart. And he out here getting bacon our first overall pick from last year. And I don't know what Emanuel Forbes did. Somebody please point to me where he did that had his cult-like following, where everything that he does has an excuse for it. Because, yes, I did mention the good rep that he had when he was in phase. And I saw other people alluding to while he got the touchdown scored on him and things of that nature, that he still had good man-to-man reps. Otherwise, yeah, he was going against fourth stringers. I would expect my 16th overall pick to have good reps going against fourth stringers as well. The bar is so low. The bar is so low. And I'm not trying to rain on anybody's parade because it is the preseason. And I'm really not trying to do that. But I can't go against what my two eyes are seeing. So if somebody does know, please let me know. What did Emanuel Forbes do to get this call-like following to excuse everything that he's done since he got drafted in April of 2023? Because I don't get it. I don't. Some other things that I wanted to touch on. Marcus Mariota only played one series. Why? I don't know. Because it wasn't like he looked good in that series at all. And it's not like he's been looking good the days that we were in training camp. Other beat reporters have been talking about it. So I'm not sure why he didn't play more than one series. It seems like he does have that QB2 role solidified and things of that nature. But Jeff Driscoll was out that thing dealing. Now I know he was going against a lot of third and fourth stringers, but guess what? He played against his competition, and he played above the level of his competition. And he can only go against the people that he was put out there against. Some things that I noticed is that Jeremy McNichol got a lot of snaps before Chris Rodriguez, so it kind of makes me curious of the prospects of Chris Rodriguez making this roster. I did have him making the roster with the projected 53 that I did pre-training camp, but that prediction ain't looking too good right now because not only did Jeremy McNichol get snaps before him, but when Michael Wiley, who did get snaps after him, Michael Wiley showed a lot of juice in the second half. And he showed a lot of the reasons why I had him making the pre-53 man roster as well. So that's a name to look for the rest of the preseason, running back out of the University of Arizona. I told you, I just think that he's a scheme fit. He looks good in the read option. He was the most efficient running back in the read option scheme in the 2022 season. So, I mean, the prospects for Chris Rodriguez not looking good. You better go try and return some kicks or something at this point. Jamel Davis ran exclusively with the backups. He didn't get any burn with the first string, whether that be at the defensive end or the linebacker position. Now, when he did get his first series in, I think it was the second overall series, the defensive series of the game, he showed good power holding up the edge on 2 consecutive plays. Now, I wish that he would have started showing that for the rest of the game because when I built back and watched the second half, there were running lanes open. Our run defense was suspect yesterday. And that's been my biggest concern with the Dan Quinn defense because I've had nightmares about what the Green Bay Packers just did to them in the 2023 playoffs. And every time that, that Dallas team or Dan Quinn-led team, every time that they seem to get dominated is when, they aren't able to stop the run. And it's when teams are committed to run the ball against them, they don't seem to be able to stop it. Yeah, it's a passing league. That's why he's so successful because that passing defense is on lock. Unless you got Emanuel Forbes in. But that passing scheme, Joe Witt Jr., I'm not worried about that passing scheme at all. But that run defense, I'm going to need us to tighten up. I'm going to definitely need us to tighten up. Benson had a big 40-plus yard catch where he looked every bit of the likes of 2005 Chris Cooley. I was watching that feeling like a damn kid again, feeling like a 10-year-old, watching Chris Cooley run through Roy Williams tackles. And I tweeted this out after the game because I know that Sanat had a slow start to cap. I know that he dropped a couple of passes and things like that. But everything that he showed yesterday and everything that he showed in his film in Kansas State, honestly, it's going to show up in between the white lines during an official game. You're not going to get that in practices when you're barely hitting, if hitting at all. And I know I've seen a couple of people kind of skate around it. And I love Dan Quinn, don't get me wrong. But I think one of the reasons that we went up to New York and got our ass buzzed by the Jets in the joint practice on Thursday is because we haven't had physical practices by any means. And I'm going to go ahead out here and say it now before it becomes hindsight. Yeah, we are getting a lot done. Practice all ran very efficiently. Coaches are coaching with a lot of intent. But they ain't out there cracking skulls like my man Greg Minoski would say. So I think they got hit in the mouth and they got shell shocked with that level of physicality that the Jets presented to them. Because even in the days where they went live when they had full pads, it ain't like they going live for real. They not thudding and bringing to the ground. They just thudding and keeping them up. That's not real football. That's why September football throughout the entire NFL for the last couple of years has been ass. Because we've been running around with these powder puff ass practices. And I hope that that's something that we work on leading up into the regular season. Because like I said, with a guy like Benson he's not going to have a chance to show his run after the catch ability when you just stunting him and holding him up. Because in practice, you might assume that he'll get tackled. In a game, he might be running through that shit like he did yesterday. Like he did in his years at Kansas State. So I'm glad to see that he flashed yesterday. It's time that we have a discussion about Johan Dawson, y'all. It's time that we have a discussion about Johan Dawson, to be 100% honest. Do y'all realize Johan Dawson played 32 snaps yesterday and was running with the threes at one point? Do y'all realize that Johan Dawson played more snaps than De'Ami Brown? Do y'all realize that Johan Dawson was the third best Commander receiver out there, and that does not include Terry McLaurin, who played one series? And it seems like the coaching staff is wondering what the fuck is going on with Johan Dawson as well. Because to keep him out there running with the threes, you can't tell me that they feel favorable about their wide receiver position. That's your wide receiver too. That you got out there running with Jeff Driscoll. Don't piss on me and tell me that it's raining, that you feel confident about everything that Johan Dawson is doing. Because it clearly didn't show yesterday. It clearly didn't show yesterday. And guess what? If you went back and watched that 2023 Johan Dawson film, I would have been having him run with the threes too. So it's not like I'm mad at you. It's not like I'm mad at it. But Grant Paulson was alluding to all week that Johan Dawson was telling them, yeah, we're going to give you a real small sample size. And he kept saying the word small as to allude to like they weren't going to get a lot of snaps. Well, I guess he missed that fucking coaches meeting. I guess he missed that team meeting. And then it's not like he went out there and dominated with the snaps that he had. He out there stumbling on a potential touchdown route against a cornerback that's third on the Jets depth chart. Sticking with the wide receivers, I was the first in the community to say it. So if it does happen, please give me my credit. That's all I ask. But my opinion that Luke McCaffrey might be an early season inactive for, the first couple of weeks got a little more validated in my belief, being that he didn't get a lot of burn until the second half at all. So he got almost all of his run exclusively with the three. So that pretty much tells you where they think he is as of right now. And I'm not necessarily surprised. He's a developmental guy. He's only been playing receiver for 2 years. And I think right now he's more athlete than just pure receiver. And I think that he has the work ethic to, develop into, a pretty dynamic receiver. But it seems like Jameson Crowder has a solidified role as a returner on this team. So when you're only keeping 5 guys and you got Terry McLaurin, De'Ami Brown, Johan Dawson, those 4th and 5th slots, you only keep about 5 wide receivers active on game day. You got Jameson Crowder as your returner. Olamide Zaccheaus, who was the best wide receiver on the field, in my opinion, yesterday. Because while De'Ami did have that big 40-yard catch and he did have another big catch on the comeback, I still don't see the separation that I'm looking for, which, resulted in one of the drops that he had on the sideline. But Olamide Zaccheaus showed me a lot of juice yesterday. So it seems like those first 4 wide receiver spots are pretty much solidified. So, is Luke wide receiver 6? If we're considering Jameson Crowder as a lock at that punt return or that kick returning spot on game days, and your 6th wide receiver usually isn't active on Sundays if you keep the 6 wide receivers alone. Some other things that I noticed before I get you guys out of here. I think that Tyler Owens might have a shot to make this team. If you guys go back to my stock up and stock down episode, he was one of the guys that I mentioned having his stock risen through training camp. And he's just continued the ball since that episode. And Derek Forrest has continued to not play and not practice. I think he's out with, I think they said hamstring injury. And Tyler Owens just continues to sign in his absence. Yesterday, he had a beautiful forced fumble where he played the sticks on 3rd and 9. We allowed the receiver to catch the ball, but it was before the sticks, forcing the fumble. It was just an unfortunate bounce that went to the Jets receiver that ended up being a first down. But that's how you play the deep safety position, playing the sticks in the NFL. And he has the athleticism to do it. A 6'3", 215-pound safety that runs 4.3, and his speed is evident on film. So he's a guy to continue to watch for the rest of the offseason, continue to watch for the rest of the training camp, because I think that he's putting a lot of fire on Derek Forrest's ass. No diddy. And lastly, Jordan McGee got the start. I didn't see him necessarily making any impact plays, so I would like to see him do more with his reps. But he was out essentially when the rest of the ones went out. So it seems like, he's definitely that third linebacker in the rotation, whether we go with a 4-3 base or just a typical, 5-2 or something like that. But when we do have, 3 stand-up all-ball linebackers, it seems like Jordan McGee is that guy. And if that's the case, I would like to see just a little more juice, see him flying around making some plays, because I'm really high on him as a prospect. But that'll do it for today's episode, man. The second half was rather uneventful. Like I said, I think that Michael Wiley showed some juice. So that's a name to look for the rest of preseason. Bryson Tremaine made a couple of catches. He's been dominating camp. So I think that, he's a name that, I don't know. The wide receiver position is really sticky, and I don't think that they're going to, get rid of a guy that they spent such high draft capital on, like a guy like Luke McCaffrey. So I think that Bryson Tremaine can be fighting an uphill battle. But that's a name to be looking for the rest of the preseason. And yeah, that'll do it for today's episode. Let me know how you guys felt going into week 2. We got another joint practice against the Miami Dolphins, going against the Miami Dolphins in preseason week 2. How you guys feel about week 1? How do you guys feel about us finally having a quarterback? Because I'm going to let you guys know now. We got one. We got us one. We got us one. That's my quarterback. That's my quarterback. And I'm so excited for the rest of the 2024 season and how it's going to play out. So make sure that you stay in tune with the channel. As always, if you're not following us on social media, hit us up on X or on Instagram at BnG. Our Instagram is at BnG, BLEEDING, BnG. Our X is at BnG, BLEEDIN, BnG. As always, I love chopping it up with you guys on X. If you're following us on our audio-only platforms such as Spotify, such as Apple Podcasts, leave a rating, leave a review. That's how we finesse these algorithms so that when you're searching anything Washington Commanders, BnG is that #1 content hub that pops up in your search bar. And yeah, I'll keep coming with the pressure, so make sure you stay tuned into the channel because football season is here. 'Tis the season, and I'll check in on you guys later. Peace.